In Burkina Faso, a secret pulsed through the nation's veins, known to all yet spoken by none. President Ibrahim Traoré was not himself, or rather, the man presenting himself as Traoré was not the true leader. 2 months prior, an assassination attempt had left the real Traoré gravely wounded, his body riddled with 3 bullets that nearly claimed his life. Now, hidden away in a clandestine medical facility, he fought for recovery while a body double, Colonel Yaya Diallo, stood in his place, delivering speeches, shaking hands, and steering the nation. The deception was flawless, until the double began to stray from the script. On a sweltering night in Ouagadougou, Dr. Amina Konate navigated a forgotten underground passage beneath the presidential palace, a relic of French colonial rule, unsealed only to guard the nation's most perilous secret. At the tunnel's end, 2 elite guards scrutinized her credentials before granting her passage through a reinforced door. Beyond it lay a medical facility that existed only in whispers, housing a patient who, officially, was nowhere. "How is he today?" Dr. Konate asked the night nurse, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Improving, but slowly," the nurse replied. "Fever's down, but the wounds still trouble him." Dr. Konate nodded and stepped into the private room where Ibrahim Traoré lay, propped on pillows, surrounded by the hum of medical equipment. His once robust frame was frail, his face etched with the toll of infection and blood loss. The assassination attempt had been brutal, and only the swift action of his security detail and Dr. Konate's expertise had pulled him from death's grasp. "Good evening, Mr. President," she said, her tone professional yet warmed by their shared history as university classmates, their paths diverging to medicine for her and military leadership for him. Traoré's voice, though weak, held a spark of its old strength. "Any news from the outside?" "Your double is performing admirably," Dr. Konate said, checking his vitals. Colonel Diallo addressed the African Union Summit yesterday. The speech was well received. A flicker of emotion crossed Traoré's face, pride, relief, but also a shadow of unease, perhaps jealousy. "And the public? Do they suspect?" Dr. Konate hesitated. "There are rumors. Your change in handedness didn't go unnoticed, Diallo's right-handed, you favor your left. And he lacks your scar from the Kaya campaign. But people accept him as you. They want to believe." It was an understatement. Colonel Yaya Diallo, Traoré's friend since their military academy days, was a near-perfect stand-in. Similar in build and features, with the right haircut and Traoré's signature red beret, Diallo's resemblance was uncanny. For 2 months, he had studied Traoré's speeches, mannerisms, and decision-making, coached by a tight-knit circle of 5 who knew the truth, Dr. Konate, Security Chief Ouagadougou, Defense Minister Kabore, Foreign Minister Zongo, and 1 other. "The council meeting is tomorrow," Traoré said, shifting painfully. "Diallo will need to decide on the Chinese infrastructure proposal." "He's been briefed on your position," Dr. Konate assured him. Traoré's eyes narrowed. "Does he agree with it?" The question hung heavy, exposing a growing rift. For weeks, Traoré had relayed instructions through Dr. Konate, but Diallo had begun to question them, suggesting alternatives, delaying decisions. "I believe he'll represent your interests," she said carefully. Traoré studied her, unconvinced. "You don't sound certain." Before she could respond, Security Chief Ouagadougou entered, his face grim. "Mr. President, we have a situation. Colonel Diallo has scheduled a meeting with the French ambassador tomorrow. It wasn't on your approved agenda." Traoré's expression darkened. "Why?" "He didn't say, sir. He arranged it directly, bypassing protocol." Traoré exchanged a glance with Dr. Konate. France, Burkina Faso's colonial ruler until 1960, had strained relations with Traoré's government since he expelled their troops last year. An unscheduled meeting with their ambassador was a red flag. "I need to speak with Diallo now," Traoré said, attempting to sit up and wincing. "He's at the military graduation ceremony, sir," Ouagadougou replied. "He won't be back until late." Traoré's jaw tightened. Get me the secure phone. As Ouagadougou left, Dr. Konate checked Traoré's bandages. You're not strong enough for a confrontation, she warned. I don't have a choice, Traoré shot back. The assassination attempt was just the start. If I lose control now, everything we've fought for is at risk. Neither voiced the deeper fear: Colonel Diallo might be growing too comfortable in the president's shoes. Across Ouagadougou, at the military academy, Colonel Yaya Diallo stood on a review stand, dressed in Traoré's uniform, red beret tilted just so, dark sunglasses masking his eyes. To the cadets marching below, he was President Traoré, radiating authority. Only those close enough might notice subtle differences: his posture, his gait. 2 months ago, when Ouagadougou had proposed this deception, Diallo had hesitated. Impersonating the president felt like a betrayal, both dangerous and morally murky. But loyalty to Traoré and Burkina Faso had won out. It was meant to be temporary, 2 weeks at most, until Traoré recovered. 2 weeks had stretched into 2 months. As the ceremony ended, Diallo's secure phone buzzed with a special code. Excusing himself, he stepped into a private room. Yes, Mr. President, he answered, the irony of the address sharp. What's this meeting with the French ambassador? Traoré's voice was taut with accusation. Diallo paused, wishing for a face-to-face talk. It's an opportunity we can't ignore. The French are offering counterterrorism intelligence in exchange for reconsidering their mining permits. We've been through this, Traoré snapped. No negotiations on mining rights. That's the core of our resource sovereignty initiative. With respect, Diallo said, choosing his words, the situation has changed. Terrorist attacks in the north are up 40% this month. Our troops need better intelligence. Silence crackled on the line. When Traoré spoke, his voice was low, dangerous. Cancel the meeting, Yaya. That's an order. Frustration surged in Diallo. You're not seeing the full picture from your hospital bed. I'm the one facing the families of dead soldiers, making these calls. You're not making calls, Traoré retorted. You're following my instructions. That was the deal. The call ended abruptly, leaving Diallo gripping the phone, his knuckles whitening. He knew he'd crossed a line, but he believed he was right. As he returned to the presidential car, a text arrived from Jean-Michel Leroux, a French intelligence officer he'd trained with in Paris years ago, looking forward to our discussion tomorrow. We have much to offer the right partner. The implication was clear: France suspected he wasn't Traoré and was dangling a deal. That night, in the presidential office, Diallo studied Traoré's portrait on the wall. Their resemblance was striking: same height, similar features, same intensity. But their souls diverged: Traoré, the idealist, defiant of Western powers; Diallo, the pragmatist, seeking solutions through compromise. For 2 months, Diallo had tried to channel Traoré's vision while navigating leadership's realities. Increasingly, he wondered, what would a Burkina Faso led by Yaya Diallo look like? Defense Minister Kaboré interrupted, closing the door. Colonel, we need to talk about tomorrow's meeting with the French. The president wants me to cancel it, Diallo said flatly. Kaboré nodded. I spoke with him too, but I think you're right about the intelligence. Our northern forces are vulnerable without it. Diallo was surprised. Kaboré was Traoré's staunch ally. You're saying I should defy his orders? I'm saying, Kaboré said carefully, the president's health may be clouding his judgment. Our troops' safety can't wait. The words hung heavy. This wasn't just about one meeting, it was about who held power. How many others feel this way? Diallo asked. Several key ministers, Kaboré admitted. We've been discussing it. Diallo walked to the window, gazing at Ouagadougou's lights. And if Traoré doesn't recover enough to return, what then? Kaboré joined him. The constitution allows for succession in case of incapacity. But the public thinks I'm Traoré, Diallo pointed out. Precisely, Kaboré said. Which gives us options. Diallo turned, wary. What are you suggesting? Kaboré met his gaze. Only that we must consider all possibilities for the nation's stability. After Kaboré left, Diallo lingered at the window. The French meeting was now a test of power. Defying Traoré's order would mean asserting his own authority. Where would that lead? The next morning, in the secret facility, Traoré was livid. Reports confirmed Diallo hadn't cancelled the meeting. It was moved up to 10 a.m. He's acting before I can stop him, Traoré told Dr. Konate as she changed his bandages. This is a power grab. Perhaps he believes it's best for the country, she offered neutrally. Traoré's eyes flashed. Whose side are you on, Amina? Your health and Burkina Faso's stability, she replied. This conflict with Diallo threatens both. Traoré softened slightly. I trusted him with everything, my identity, my authority, my vision. Now he's undermining it all. Then end the charade, Dr. Konate urged. Announce your injury, your recovery, and resume your duties, even if you're not fully healed. Traoré considered this. The secrecy was meant to prevent destabilization. The assassination attempt, likely backed by foreign interests opposed to his resource nationalism, had been sophisticated. Revealing his vulnerability could invite more attacks or a coup. But now, the threat seemed internal. Prepare me for transport, he decided. I need to be at the palace before that meeting. Dr. Konate protested. The journey could reopen your wounds. I have no choice, Traoré insisted. I can't let Diallo unravel everything. Meanwhile, Diallo prepared for the French ambassador, Philippe Marchand. Sleepless, he'd wrestled with Traoré's order but concluded the intelligence was worth it. Lives were at stake. Marchand arrived at 10 a.m., accompanied by Leroux. Mr. President, Marchand greeted with a bow, thank you for meeting on short notice. I understand you have intelligence on northern terrorist activities, Diallo said, gesturing to chairs. Marchand smiled thinly. Indeed, but it comes with expectations. Cooperation on mining permits, among other considerations. Before Diallo could reply, Ouagadougou entered. Forgive the interruption, Mr. President, but there's an urgent security matter. In private, Ouagadougou whispered, Traoré's on his way. He left against Dr. Konate's advice. 20 minutes, maybe less. Diallo's heart raced. If Traoré arrived now, the deception would collapse, exposing everything. Delay him, he ordered. Checkpoints, diversions, buy me time. Returning, Diallo was brisk. Ambassador, what's the intelligence, and what's the exact price? Marchand slid a tablet across, showing satellite images of a terrorist camp near Mali, personnel, weapons, attack plans. This is a sample, Marchand said. We have real-time tracking of terrorist leaders. In return, reconsider the Tambao manganese permits, allow French military advisors back, and soften your rhetoric on France's role in West Africa. The intelligence was critical, but the cost was a betrayal of Traoré's vision. With Traoré minutes away, Diallo stood. I'll consult my Security Council. We'll continue tomorrow. Marchand was disappointed but nodded. This offer has a time limit. Others in the region are interested. As the French left via the East Wing, Diallo braced himself. The door burst open, and Traoré stood there, pale, supported by Dr. Konate. You betrayed me, Traoré said, voice raw with pain and fury. You betrayed Burkina Faso. Diallo faced him. It wasn't betrayal. I was protecting our people. By selling out to the French? Traoré's contempt burned. By being realistic, Diallo countered. You've been dreaming of a pure Burkina Faso. I'm dealing with the real one, terrorism, poverty, pressure. Your solution is capitulation. Traoré leaned forward, wincing. Sovereignty is everything. Sovereignty means nothing if our people die, Diallo shot back. What did the French offer you personally? Traoré asked quietly. To stay in power. To be me forever. Diallo's silence spoke volumes. They know you're not me, Traoré pressed. What did they promise? Nothing explicit, Diallo admitted. But they'd support a transition if I cooperated. Dr. Konate interjected, they're exploiting our deception to engineer a silent coup. Ouagadougou spoke, startling them. It's not a coup if the public doesn't know. They've accepted Colonel Diallo as President Traoré for 2 months. Traoré stared at his security chief. Are you threatening me, Emmanuel? I'm stating reality, Ouagadougou said. Diallo's been leading effectively. Some ministers prefer his approach. A transition could be seamless. And me? Traoré's voice was ice. No one answered, but the options were grim: seclusion, exile, or worse. Dr. Konate stepped closer to Traoré. This is madness. You're talking about removing the elected president. The people elected a vision, Diallo argued. I share it, but I see a different path. Traoré's gaze hardened. You've always been the compromiser, Yaya. But sovereignty, dignity, those aren't negotiable. Pretty words, Diallo replied. They don't stop terrorists or feed children. A knock interrupted. Foreign Minister Zongo entered, freezing at the sight of Traoré. Mr. President. I didn't expect, his eyes darted to Diallo, confusion evident. The room crackled with tension, the nation's future hanging in the balance. Traoré, weakened but resolute, faced Diallo, the man who had become his shadow and now threatened to eclipse him. The secret that had held Burkina Faso together was unraveling, and with it, the fragile unity of its leadership. Diallo's pragmatism clashed with Traoré's idealism, each man believing he was the nation's true savior. The French, sensing the fracture, waited in the wings, ready to exploit it. Ouagadougou's words echoed, a seamless transition. But seamless for whom? The public, unaware, continued to see Traoré in Diallo's every gesture, while the real Traoré fought to reclaim his place. Dr. Konate, caught between loyalty to her friend and the nation's stability, saw the danger of a divided government. Zongo's arrival only deepened the uncertainty, another player in a game where loyalty was no longer certain. The office, once a symbol of unified power, now felt like a battlefield, with the fate of Burkina Faso teetering on the edge of a silent coup.